today, according to a third and seventh ray mode, I would qualify it, we are going to look at the astrological fundamental entities under a psychomathematical key that is along the numerical and geometrical keys to the mysteries, as Madame Blavatsky calls them, and also decay. So taking as reference models the science of harmonics of Pythagoras and the teaching on the seven rays, of course, we are going to apply the system and ordering of the first seven numbers and the corresponding harmonic relationships to the sphere of qualities of the zodiac and the psychometric directions between planets. Can you see the slides that change?
Yes.
Thank you. So as Ptolemy wrote, the consonances and dissonances of the musical system are similar to those we find in the zodiac. As above, so below. So the astrological beings are seen here as a harmonic offspring of the creative relationship between numbers, the agents of life, and the space matrix of a plan, the solar one in our case. Numbers are the order of life, are living beings who, as points and sounds, create infinite yet order relationships in space. These creative relations or intervals are harmonic psychogeometries. Psychogeometry affirms that all geometric elements exist by virtue of the living energies and forces that nourish them. Numbers, logoi and hierarchies, rays, and so on. The plan is a psychogeometric undertaking produced by two energies, love and light, which, directed by a third, will, is the bearer of a project set up on the ecliptic plane. From an Italian great disciple, Enzio Salvini. Here are the three categories of actors of our solar scene. On the ecliptic solar plane and plan, we find 12 constellations build and qualify the circumference and correspond to the cosmic field of our solar logos. Some Vulcan corresponds to the center and solar heart in the heliocentric perspective, or the Earth for the geocentric one. And then the planets trace the solar psychogeometries through their planetary cyclic relations or aspects. So let's begin our septenary examination, remembering that the sacred hierarchs of the first seven numbers are the seven planetary logoi, or seven sub-rays of the divine number or ray 2 of our solar logos. The luminaries or rays design on the living plane plan of the ecliptic seven basic psychogeometrical figures with their motion. These operations cause events and forms and qualify the state of consciousness of the solar, planetary, or human system. The seven figures, which are sound mathematics, interact by generating a multiplicity of cycles, rhythms, and relationships. The seven sacred luminaries draw complex spirals on the plane of the ecliptic, reduced to their simplest ray directions or aspects. They trace and sound between them the conjunction, the opposition, which is the circle divided by 2, the trine divided by 3, the square by 4, quintile or quincunx, the former divided by 3, sorry, by 5, there's a mistake, or the quincunx divided by 12, 12 divided 5, and the sextile divided by 6, and the septile divided by 7. Even if the 7 factor, we will see that is concerning the overall design. So let's see them one by one. The one that is the round angle, 360 degrees, of the zodiac wheel, divided by 1, corresponding to the unison interval 1/1, it's the full circle and it's the center. In terms of angular incidence or planetary directions, the shared radius is the conjunction between 2 or more planets in a sign of 1 cross an element, if the planets, of course, are not in 2 contiguous sides. Its effect is the power of the impulse, qualified by the combined influence of the 2 luminaries. Such primary relationships are consecrated or analogous to the energy of the first ray, of power and will, of identity, of the first number, of the one, the beginning and initiatory principle and force. Divided by 2, which is 1/2 octave interval. The one is divided into 2 halves or straight angles, 180 degrees, identified in an astrological chart by any axis of opposite zodiacal signs, the 6 axes, but mainly, as we have seen, by the ascendant-descendant axis, the equinoctial axis, and by the MCIC, the solstitial axis. The horizontal axis establishes the nocturnal hemicycle below potential or connected to individual or centripetal development from the 1st to the 6th house, opposite to the diurnal one, above linked to achievements and activities that are collective or social, and beyond that, spiritual, from the 7th to the 12th house. I'm sure many of us know all these things, but it's just to give a mathematical reading and geometrical and psychogeometrical reading of the elements of astrology. The vertical axis divides a celestial chart into another type of essential polarity: masculine, feminine, active, receptive, vital, spatial. In terms of planetary aspects, there is in this case the opposition between 2 or more planets along an axis, which connects to the degree, signs of the same cross, and of compatible elements, if of course the opposition doesn't take place in the cusp between 2 signs. The opposition is the expression of the maximum potential tension, which sets in motion new beginnings and cycles if managed from the center, or of useless energy waste if unbalanced on one side at the expense of the other. Such relationships are consecrated or analogous to the energy of polarity, of magnetism, of love, of the second ray, of the 2, the principle and force that unite the beginning to the end, and vice versa, through the center or heart. Divided by 3, which is 1/3 and the 5th interval in the Science of Harmonics. The one is tripartite, and the zodiacal circle with 12 sectors gives 4 triangles corresponding to the 4 elements or triads of signs similar in substance, defined as earth, water, air, and fire. The four types of matter or vibration of which all things are made, likewise corresponding to the levels of our manifestation, the physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual. The key words regarding their nature and action that decay says are contact for earth and the physical plane, synthesis for water and emotional, relationship for fire or mental level, and expansion, air, mental, spiritual. There is a further cross connection between them. The contact that the earth element brings is akin to the synthesis of water for their centripetal quality, concentration. Whereas the expansion of air is similar to the relationship of fire for their centrifugal quality, branching, multiplication. As a direction or planetary aspect, the creator and creative number par excellence produces the trines, 120 degrees, which connect, if not in a cast, signs belonging to the same element and to a different cross, fluid and absorbing exchanges, which produce synthesis and sublimation between the energies at play. These relationships are consecrated or analogous to the energy of a creative rhythm and motion, to light, creative intelligence, or the third ray, to the incessant updating, to the synthetic triad, the three, the principle and force that create the sum of the two. Divided by 4, 1/4, fourth interval or double octave in a harmonics, the one is split into 4 parts, and the zodiacal heart gives the 3 crosses, the 3 cosmic helices, I don't know. Anyway, spirals that guide the development of consciousness in its 3 evolutionary stages, as well as the 3 phases of the seasonal rhythm of any cycle. These 3 vibrations are in Sanskrit the 3 gunas, the 3 ultimate components of matter, prakriti, inertia or ignorance, tamas, activity or passion, rajas, and balance or virtue, sattva. As regards consciousness, from being individual or ordinary, the mutable cross, rajas, or instinctive activity, where tamas and sattva are still latent and are expressed through spiritual inertia and disharmony, it becomes group consciousness, or of the disciple, the fixed cross, tamas or stability, where the increasingly present rajas and sattva now give an ever more directed and coordinated activity. And it finally leads to the universal one, or consciousness of the initiate, the cardinal cross, sattva, balance between spirit and matter, harmony between action and inaction. The partition of the circle into 4 gives the square or quadrature 90 degrees, which connects, if not in a cusp, signs of the same cross and of different elements. The right angle between planets promotes externalization into 4, the 4, with consequent contrast and conflict due to the imperfection and resistance of the substantial basis of manifestation, awaiting their harmonization or fusion into a third and new resulting sattvic force. These relationships are consecrated or analogous to the energy of harmony through conflict, of centrality of the four. The heart is quadripartite. Of the fourth ray, the principle and the force that unify at the center and from the center, the heart. The squaring of the circle also gives the four quarters identified by the cross of the cornerstones, which will present four different combinations of their polar qualities. We will consider them here in order to focus and synthetically embrace the integrated system of the 12 energies of the zodiac. From 1 Aries to 3 Gemini, first quarter, individual, centripetal, active, masculine, vital. The 2 of Taurus, with its power of the first even number, relates Aries and Gemini, recalling the centrality of the love of space, its radiance or light of life, which is Taurus. The first sign of the first house connected to Aries, of the causal beginning, of the ego and of physical action, in order to open up to the first creative exchanges, the third sign and third house, Gemini, the 2 columns, requires the stabilization at the center, the fixed cross, of the vital energy and of any values, qualities, experiences, and understandings. Taurus 2. From 4 Cancer to 6 Virgo, the second quarter, individual, centripetal, receptive, feminine, spatial. The 5 of Leo, with its power or odd golden number, the 5, focuses the work in the receptive and protective veil of the mother aspect of life, Cancer, Virgo. Igniting a sun, i.e. identifying the heart, the vital core of love, as well as the magnet of individual life. The 4th sign and 4th house, Cancer, the matrix of dark light and root of cycles and processes, needs a central seed where to concentrate, identify, and establish life or the animating fire, 5 Leo, before being able to cover it with formal veils and guarantee its beneficial growth, 6 Virgo. From 7 Libra to 9 Sagittarius, the third quarter, collective, centrifugal, receptive, feminine, spatial. The 8 of Scorpio, with its power or even circular number, the 8, 2 elevated to 3. There is a mistake here. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 is the Christic number or the evolution towards infinity after the relative perfection of the 7. Tries to grasp and tie the 8 of the lemniscate, the circle of maximum receptivity and diffusion of the third quarter of the sky. In the evolving consciousness, it stabilizes and directs the balance gained, 7 Libra, to the next achievement, 9 Sagittarius. Finally, overcoming the risk of stasis, non-authenticity, and irresponsible neutrality, the involutive aspect of Libra, and of disproportionate goals due to excess of desire or personal longing, the involutive aspect of Sagittarius. And finally, from 10 Capricorn to 12 Pisces, the fourth quarter, collective, centrifugal, active, masculine, vital. The 11 of Aquarius, with its power or odd initiatory number, the 11, expresses the voluntary one and active service to the community, a natural expansion of that self-improvement which makes one acquire the right to guide, 10 Capricornus, the initiate, and ultimately makes the tendency to self-sacrifice as a saving force, 12 Pisces, impersonal or universal. The alternating succession of the 12 signs between even and odd also reflects the kaleidoscopic game of the two origins, of the essential polarity and its development and fulfillment. A wonderful mathematical game of correspondences, symmetries, and gradations of the one primary or psychic energy of space, directed by the fiery thought of the life units, numbers and monads, centers and fields, luminaries and signs, constellations. Divided by 5, 1/5, the major third interval, the thirds actually, the circle of evolution gives the 5-pointed star, the star of creation and of man, from an esoteric point of view, of creation through the fire of thought, logos. It gives the pentacle as well as the quintile, 72 degrees, as a planetary aspect, which connects planets in signs of different element and normally also different cross. For example, Aries cardinal fire via the next quintile connects with Gemini, Gemini mutable air, but can also be linked to Cancer cardinal water. The proportion in power of number 5 predisposes to collaboration between dissimilar or partially similar qualities for a highly dynamic, multifaceted, and iridescent construction. Once these relationships are refined until becoming golden, the radiant work of higher harmony and beauty is manifested. The geometric proportion is the fairest of bonds for Plato, and the golden proportion is the balance of beauty from Agni Yoga. In a way, the aspect called quincunx is also a brother in this search for the commensurement between the parts and the whole, since it puts as well in relation the differences of cross and element. It ensures the exchange and comparison to redeem oneself from form, from limits, the past, in order to serve the fulfillment of the cycle, the 12. And we see that 12 successive quincunxes build the 12-pointed star, the spatial realization of the work, with pentacle layers among the 12 qualities of the zodiac. These relationships are consecrated or analogous to the energy of dualistic manifestation, of the golden or scientific construction, of the 5, of the 5th ray, the principle and force that realize. Divided by 6, 1/6, minor third interval or octave of the 3, 6 equal 3 times 2, the one and the unitary circle give the hexagon with 3 internal diagonals, or in essence, the 6-pointed star or sacred septenary, considering 7 vertices, including the center, actually composed of 2 symmetrically intertwined triangles. It emerges, in fact, as star of life, as light or cause of creation, already at the number 3, or third harmonic of the initial unison. It's the seal of Solomon, guarantee of formal unity, number 6, and of triadic synthesis. 1 times 2 times 3 equals 6, magically like 1 plus 2 plus 3 equals 6. So triadic synthesis between high and low, between the higher and lower creations. The resulting hexagon is set up at the periphery by 6 sextiles, 60 degrees, or half trials, which relate planets in kindred signs or akin in substance and vibration, but belonging to a different cross, complementary in this to its tripole, the opposition 180 degrees. A sextile connects, for example, Aries fire and Gemini air, or Taurus earth and Cancer water. The sextile, therefore, allows the natural agreement ensured by affine elements between different rhythms and levels of consciousness, the crosses. It's the direction of concord and solidarity between the parts for the common or central good. And the side of the hexagon is the only identical, i.e., its measure is equivalent to the radius between center and circle. Isn't it magic? In fact, the 6 is the number of the perfection in form. These relationships based on the 6 are consecrated to the spiritual or essential affinity that points to communion, to the value and profound purpose of life. The 6th ray is the principle and force that synthesizes and guides back to the one. The zodiac, 12, divided twice by 6, identifies the zodiacal opposites, synthesized by the 6 axes mentioned above, the directions of the greatest consonance, octave, but also of the maximum distance opposition, if not synthesized by the central heart. Emblematic, for example, is to have the sign in one sign and the ascendant in the opposite sign, a configuration that indicates for the life in question, a strong drive towards a point of synthesis at the cost of extreme tensions and efforts, but with the promise of further conquest and advancements. And finally, divided by 7, 1/7, the 7th interval or the septile aspect, the one or unitary circle doesn't give all whole or rational subdivisions to the degree for the angular system, thus inaugurating a different and foreign order compared to the previous one. Yet the septile, dissonant in comparison to the harmonic scenery, is just one side of this 7th ray unique partition. In fact, the power of the 7 is to unhinge the acquired stability and obsolete structures for better solutions, but also to make of the many a new single individual, organizing and integrating the parts in a way that is functional to the good, the common purpose in constant evolution, yet unchangeable in its essence. In the reading of a celestial chart, this is equivalent to elaborating an overall picture that orders the elements and variables in play according to a hierarchical system of rules and structures, of values and meanings, in order to extract the quintessence or Sophia, but also to bring out the role and relevance of each party. The 7 restores the 1, making things right. Thus, symmetrically, the central one governs the field through a system or hierarchy of 7 centers, or 6 peripheral, the star of life, the hexagon, bringing it to perfection, an always relative one, with respect to the endeavor towards an incessant further renewal. Evolution is created in a limitless striving of harmony from Agni Yoga. This ternary relationship is sacred to the energy of order, to the magic of rhythm, which it ceaselessly perfects. The seventh ray, is the principle and force that irradiates ordered freedom. And here the hierarchical order of the 7 figures. And here is the synoptic table of this harmonic approach to astrology. So you can find in the shared document that Michael put in the chat. Reading the constituent factors of the astrological code according to the numerical and geometric key reveals the harmonic ordering that makes possible the golden understanding of the beauty of celestial mysteries. And now, as we have still 8 minutes, I will share this video that you can find in the channel YouTube of TPS, the planetary-system.org, in a more complete form. I will share just this hypothesis of the science of harmonics of Pythagoras applied to the 7 rays. Enjoy.
In harmonics, there exists a concept of the utmost importance, the interval. What is meant by interval in music is the space between 2 sounds. Naturally, it is not a physical but a psychic space. It is not a distance, but on the contrary, a relationship. If 2 sounds exist, the interval is what originates from their fusion. It is symbolized pictorially by a 3rd colored spiral created by the 2 vibrations. The idea of the interval which we draw from music is precious. It shows its subtle nature, as it does not exist by itself. It is thus an intermediary between the physical world, the 2 sounds, and the spiritual, their synthesis. Interval means consciousness, that which relates spirit and substance. Consciousness, in fact, is the world of relationships. We must not forget this while we study them. By progressively shortening one of the 2 strings with the bridge, the same number of intervals will be produced. The world of intervals is clear and simple. 3 of them dominate and are supreme. 4 others of lesser strength assist them. Let us then describe their principal qualities and the correspondence which is proposed between rays and sound intervals. The first interval is that which is produced by the 2 free strings. It is called interval of unison, precisely because it is the repetition of the same sound. Its relationship is 1 to 1. It is the interval of generating sound, so it is the interval of cause, of beginning. It is a first ray manifestation. We must truly be amazed because life is in fact being born, manifested by these 2 strings. Every time that a sound vibrates, it is able to propagate itself infinitely, and we will have a demonstration of this later on, because another law of sound exists which demonstrates precisely this. It is suggested that the color of this interval is red, and that its geometrical figure is the point. The associated planet is Vulcan.
The other law is the resonance.
Sound echoes in space. The second interval is space. It is produced by dividing the string into 2, and this interval is the octave. It is the generating sound, but higher. The octave contains all the other infinite relationships. It is therefore similar to the Great Mother, to space, which generates and contains everything. It is the field which receives the will of one and nourishes it. Its task is that of receiving, not that of innovating. The interval of the octave is considered a manifestation of the second ray. For its color, blue is suggested. Its geometrical figure is the circle, that is the field which surrounds and receives the will, and its planet is Jupiter. If we divide the string into 3, a new sound is born, son of 1 and 2. It is a third ray manifestation, which is the energy of intelligence, that energy which makes creation always new, which innovates continually. The third ray is expressed in music by the interval of a fifth. This exchange between 3 and 5 always produces some confusion, also because, as we shall see, in the fifth ray the reverse is produced. But it is something which is due to musical language and we cannot do anything about it. The relationship is 2 to 3 or 1 to 3. The color associated with the third interval and the third ray is yellow, the third of the 3 primary colors. The planet which distributes it is Saturn.
We have been
Its geometrical form is the triangle, the
another
first
table.
form which is born from the circle.
Another table by decade for the colors.
The interval of a fifth concludes the series of primary intervals, exactly as the first 3 rays form the higher triad. Concerning them, no doubts or uncertainties exist. These 3 intervals are recognized and are used by all peoples in the past and in the present. They are not subjective, they do not depend on the culture of each people, and they are therefore universal. Moreover, they are exact or do not accept compromises. It is enough to move the bridge a little to lose the interval. They thus come to correspond to immutable and universal principles. It will not be so for the other intervals which will follow and which for this reason are defined as secondary. The string divided into 4 produces the interval of a fourth, which is considered a manifestation of the fourth ray. Man, as the fourth kingdom of nature, incarnates the interval of a fourth, and his task is precisely that of harmonizing, of reflecting the higher and the lower, heaven on earth, and so on. The relationship which is an expression of this interval is 3/4. Its color, indigo, is the color of the starry night. The geometrical form of this interval is the square, the corresponding planet, Mercury. This interval is the beginning of the manifestation, which will then be materially carried out by the fifth ray and the corresponding interval. When we divide the string into 5, it produces an unexpected effect. 5 is the energy which creates forms, which, as we know, are founded on duality, active, passive, masculine, feminine, etc. Sound reproduces this situation faithfully. From now on, all the intervals are divided into major and minor, masculine and feminine. By dividing the string into 5, one obtains what in music is called the major third interval. Here again is the exchange between 3 and 5, fifth ray, interval of a third. It is expressed by the relationship 4/5. But if we divide the string into 6, we still have an interval of a third, but of a different nature, more intimate and more feminine. It is the minor third, and its relationship is 5/6. It seems that here things become more complex. In reality, there is no need to have a musical training. The important thing is to find out that the sound, by the intervention of 5 in the division of the string, is duplicated, becomes masculine and feminine, giving rise to what in music are called major and minor intervals. The color proposed for the interval of a third is orange. The geometrical form is the 5-pointed star, which is precisely the expression of right construction, since, as we know, this geometrical form is a concentration of golden sections. The planet of the fifth ray is Venus. The sixth ray.
So, as my time has expired, I will stop here, and you can watch the rest on YouTube on the planetary system. So it's interesting also that decay gives different tables for the colors. So I had that video, so I kept that table, but as you have seen in the PowerPoint, I have adopted the usual colors. But it would be interesting to understand from what perspective the case gives different septenaries or colors for the 7 rays. Also in the different layers of mental and astral and etheric body, it gives different colors. So one day we will do a study, a specific study on that, I hope. So thank you all.